From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Brayden Neville.
On today's show, Coach O speaks about shutting down Chad Kelly and the Argos defense that's been so good this season. Simoni Lawrence has played in a few Labor Day Classics in his day and has some advice for the newbies to the game. Chris Edwards is on the other side of the QEW for this year's game and talks about playing against the Double Blue again. And my pal, Louie B, joins me to talk about, you guessed it, the Labor Day Classic. It's Friday, September 1st, 2023, and you're listening to Ticats Today. Just like that, summer has come to sort of a close. The weather is still going to be nice for a while, but August has come to an end, and we're on to September football. And the best way to start September is with a little Labor Day weekend action. We got some games that are just going to be interesting to see and some long-time rivalry games. Kicking things off will be the Als and BC. It'll be an interesting one. The Als sit right above the Ticats. The Ticats just beat BC. The Als have beaten the Ticats. So it'll be interesting to see where these two teams match up. Sunday, we got Winnipeg, Saskatchewan. It's just a legendary rivalry game. It's always a fun one, and those crowds are crazy for those games. The Battle of Alberta will be Monday night between Trey Ford and the Surging Elks and the Stamps. But before that, it's Ticats, Argos, Tim Hortons Field. The Cats are 8-point underdogs, but they showed last week that really means nothing. They were at 10.5, I believe, last week, but this Argos team is no joke. They're first in the East. Chad Kelly is fresh off a big extension in his first season as a starter, and I asked Coach O what this team needs to do to contain the CFL's new $1 million man.
Yeah, obviously, we'll have a plan in place. They do a good job of, I really feel like Ryan's done a great job of giving him stuff that he can handle. Obviously they're not afraid to throw it down the field, but they're also showing a willingness to take what a defense will give them. You couple that with, the back in the backfield. I mean, he does a tremendous job. You look at the tape and he really doesn't go down with the first tackler. So I guess what I'm saying here is they're a balanced attack. And so, at the same time, we're going to have to be balanced. So we're going to have to be good tacklers, find a way to keep them off the scoreboard, hold them to field goals when we can, and, take the ball away.
And Taylor Powell, have you noticed him become more poised with the ball? He seems like he's making smarter decisions out there game by game.
Well, what Taylor has lacked, you can't give him, and that's experience. And the only way to gain experience is to play. So he's made some huge strides there. I think, again, we've benefited from running the ball a little bit. He benefited from his experience and being able to make some better decisions. And, a couple times it may have cost us in the sack column, but at that point it's when you got to play the field position game. So not looking at those as poor decisions at all. But, again, as he gains more experience, you'll expect more.
These games, there's always more hype to them, but when you're playing at Tim Hortons Field on these Labor Day Classic games, does that crowd just sound louder?
Labor Day tends to sound a little bit louder. I think our fans are tremendous. They do a great job. I feel like they're loud all the time. Labor Day is something that, they're even loud in warm-ups, right? But Labor Day is just a special thing. I say it every year. It's something you need to experience. It's hard to put into words. Yeah, you can say there's a lot of people. It's the Labor Day Classic and all those things, but you got to feel it. You got to come out and witness it.
A win over Toronto, do you feel that would really make a tremendous statement here in the East?
Yeah, it'd make a statement. We would have 5 wins, and that's all we can control. You can't get 6 until you get 5. So obviously it's an Eastern Division game, and so I would be echoing the same sentiment with any Eastern Division opponent at this point. But again, we're just after our 5th win as soon as we can get it.
That was Coach O following today's very sunny practice in Hamilton. Simoni Lawrence is no stranger to these games. He's played in a ton of Labor Day Classics over his time in Hamilton, and the longest-serving Ticats spoke about what makes these games so different.
The fans, they come out and they treat the city like the way the city should be represented. And, it's just the ultimate rivalry game. Hamilton versus Toronto, a lot of businesses. I'm sure the mayors get a little bet in. We're just representing the city. And it's one of those games where everybody gets to get together in Hamilton. And I think that's what everybody really appreciates. You see the whole city out just supporting the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And I think that's what the Tiger Cats and Labor Day does the best. We bring the whole city together.
Does it almost feel like a playoff or as close as you can get to a playoff environment?
Yeah, for sure. Like, Labor Day in Hamilton is a playoff football game.
Now, to those guys who haven't experienced this game before, those players, maybe the rookies or people who haven't been involved in this game, what message would you give to them leading up to this battle of the QEW?
Just buckle your chin strap. Like you look at football, and like if you play Division I football, our Toronto was Iowa and Wisconsin. It's a rivalry game, and it's one of those games where like you're going to be in the ice tub after. Regardless of the outcome of the game, just make sure somebody in the ice tub.
This Toronto offense has been pretty good this season. What do you guys need to do to get them off their game here?
Toronto offense looked really good, but they getting a lot of free plays too. So we got to do a really good job just being assignment sound and not letting them get free plays up the field. They're moving the ball well. They're running the ball well. We just got to be in position and tackle. They got a good running back, good quarterback, good group of receivers, but at the end of the day, that don't really mean nothing. We still got to play football.
That was Simoni Lawrence. A man who has been used to playing on the other side of these battles over the years is Chris Edwards, but he's now playing for the black and gold in this one. He's ready to go. He's excited, and he spoke about playing against the former team this Monday.
It definitely has some tradition behind it, has some history behind it, and you feel it when you're playing in the games. It's very intense. The crowd is into it. The other team obviously is trying to play hard too, so that's what makes it intense. A lot of trash talking, just a lot of going hard. So, I feel like we go out there, we go hard, the crowd on our side, we should get the W.
And I know your thoughts are completely with the Ticats, but playing against a former team, sometimes, it can make things a little bit more of a little extra buzz for yourself.
Right, definitely. That does turn me up, playing against my old team. I like competing anywhere against any team, but being with those guys every day, winning the championship over there, it's fun to compete against a team like that. So, but I'm a Ticat now, so I'm looking to come out on top with Hamilton.
And you've seen these crowds at these games and how rowdy the fans get. Just what's that environment like playing in front of these fans?
Oh, it's just crazy, man. It's electric. Like, I'd never seen nothing like that before I came here. Hamilton got some of the most turned fans in the league, So it's definitely electric, and it helps the home team out a lot, definitely.
One thing that you've done all season is you've been able to make an electric interception or a game-changing play. You've had several games that have really helped benefit a win. What do you need to do to be like that against this Chad Kelly-run offense and maybe take him off his game a bit and make some big plays here?
I just feel like I need to lock in, same with the teammates. It's 12 guys out there. I feel like if we all lock in, we all had a chance to make plays. It's a lot of plays out there to be made because Toronto, they spread the ball around. Obviously, they got a lot of faith in their quarterback, so he puts it in the air. So, it's a lot of plays to be made, whether it's getting sacks, getting fumbles, or getting interceptions. So I feel like that it's going to be done.
When you're not playing the game, what are you doing, Chris? What are you doing, say, just on your downtime?
Right, well, my son just turned 2, so I'm still kind of consider myself a new father, and I have a daughter on the way. So
congratulations.
I appreciate it. So I really just like to chill with my family. I might go to the park with my son. Other than that, I might go play basketball.
Okay.
My downtime, play a little Madden or MLB. And that's pretty much it.
Would you say basketball was your second sport when you were growing up?
Yeah, it was, but I used to always get injured. I hurt my ankle on the hardwood, so I just stuck to football and a little bit of track and field after that.
You say you hang out you have a daughter on the way, and you have a 2-year-old son. Does he ever get to come out to watch any games?
Yeah, he's been to a couple games this year. He even been in the locker room.
Okay.
With Drew in the equipment room, had a good time. So it was real nice.
And what's his thoughts on? I know he's still very young, but what's his thoughts on football and seeing his dad out on the field?
Man, he loved it. He know how to say Hamilton football. He loved coming up here, visiting me, coming to games. And when he came up here, he was just free with the teammates. He walking up, shaking everybody's hands, the coaches, like he been here before. Yeah. So it was nice to see.
And do you want him to maybe one day follow in your footsteps, play some football?
Definitely. I want him to be better than his daddy, but definitely I want him to follow in my footsteps.
Maybe the potential for Coach Chris for his youth team maybe one day. But any Netflix shows, any movies you're on right now?
I just finished watching this Netflix show called The Pharmacist. It was like a documentary.
Okay, yeah, I saw
it. I'm really into documentaries and stuff like that, so yeah.
Before we go here, for the fans who are coming to watch this game, for everyone who's going to tune in or be here at Tim Hortons Field, what do you have to say to them leading up to this game?
Just come with energy. Fans, everybody who's in support of the Ticats, just come with energy because we're going to fill out on the field. We're going to need it on the field. And you're going to see a group of guys that's playing hard, ready to win when you come out on Monday.
That was Chris Edwards. Joining me now is Louie B. Louie, It's a great time of year to be a Ticats fan, or a fan of the CFL for that matter. How jacked up are you for this game?
Okay, so I'm not working for the first Labor Day Classic
That's amazing.
at Tim Hortons Field. We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Last time we were down there, Kyle Mello and I were there in the press box, and our first day at TSN 1150 RIP
R.I.P.
was the Labor Day Classic 2015, which was I believe, you can double check this, but I believe that was the first game played at Tim Hortons Field, like fully open.
Yeah, that's when they opened up on Labor Day, right?
Yeah. So 2015 Labor Day. Yeah, I think I still have the lanyard from that game. Labor Day is something different, man. Like, and it's so cliche, and you're going to hear it, and you have heard it all week about how, it's not just another game on the schedule as much as it is another game on the schedule.
I don't mind another cliche here and there.
Right? You get enough of them with Coach. You shouldn't have to get them with me. We stand on the shoulders of those before us, Labor Day, and that's what that's all about. But it really is celebrating, just everything that makes Hamilton unique. Milty's really good at talking about this, about Hamilton as a union city, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Steelworkers Union is such a huge part. The Una Station, really everything about this city gets to be celebrated on Labor Day, and that includes the Ticats and the Toronto Argonauts. And the Ticats have had a lot of success on Labor Day against the Argonauts in recent years. Most recent history excluded, but it really is a different animal. I love the kickoff time, the afternoon kickoff time.
Amazing.
I know they've tried it a couple of times in the later kickoffs.
Yep.
Again, you go back to like a 7:00 kickoff with a 3-hour rain delay a few seasons ago, but it really is going to be great. Weather's going to be great, and I think the fans are going to do their part. Game ops are going to do their part to make sure that Dwayne Gretzky for the pre and the halftime.
Yes.
Yeah, gates opening extra half hour early to make sure everybody can get inside. Like, I know everybody's going to do their part. Now it's just going to be up to the Ticats to show up, and I think that's the biggest question mark right now going into Monday.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned the time of this game. I think it's perfect because, the Ticats fans like to start early. You don't want them having to wait all day. So it kind of works out perfectly. How different is this Ticats crowd? It's almost like a playoff atmosphere at these games, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? The weather is going to be perfect, and that's such a huge part of the atmosphere. I go back to the last home game, that Thursday, the rainstorm. That was a great crowd. But I think rain scared some people away. This is going to be, it is going to be like a playoff game. And for, there wasn't a home playoff game last year for the Ticats, having to go into Montreal to start the playoffs. So, this is probably the biggest game the Ticats have played.
For sure.
I would say in at least 2 seasons. It's the Argos. The Argos are going to be all sort of pumped up, being 8-1. I've been told that they're bringing the Harold Ballard Trophy with them.
Wow.
In case they win, they could clinch it again. So I've been told that they're bringing the trophy with them, with their expectation that they're going to win this. I thought that was a little presumptuous. There's still a game left after this, but the crowd is obviously amped up. It's going to be a beautiful day, and it just goes back to celebrating what makes this community unique.
Mm-hmm.
I go back these 8 years that I've spent working in Hamilton and living in Hamilton. There's one thing that everybody talks about. If the Ticats are good and bad, they're talking about that, but they have Labor Day circled on their calendar for a reason. If you only go to one game a year, a lot of people make this the game that they go to.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going to come down to the team showing up and giving the fans a reason to stay involved in the game by making big plays and getting them off their feet. And that could come on offense, that could come on defense, that could come on special teams. But I think the team's going to have to give the reason for the fans to stay in the game. And they'll want to send them home happy, right? A lot of people are starting school. A lot of people look at that Tuesday as sort of a fresh start.
Yep.
And the Ticats should be no different. This is an opportunity to start fresh again, a cliche that we've heard a million times over. The season doesn't really start until Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
And look what a win would do for this team. It would put them at 5-6. It would put them right there with Montreal and give fans a reason to want to be involved with this team day in and day out going forward. I think a loss is going to change the narrative a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
4-7 doesn't sound as good.
No, not at all.
But a 5-6 football team heading into the fall, pieces are coming together. Guys are getting healthier. I think guys are getting more familiar with the way Scott Milanovich calls offense. I think this is a huge game on and off the field, obviously, but this is a big one for sure.
And I think a win here, you come off a win last week in BC, you get a win here against the Argos, Lou. I think the rest of the league is going to look at this Ticats team a whole lot differently.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just a win.
It was
last week,
dominant
right?
win.
It was a convincing win.
Absolutely.
It was a win that was never really in doubt. And they figured out a way to score, which is something they haven't been able to do. The Ticats, I believe, went into last week's game in BC as 10.5-point underdogs.
Huge,
they ended up winning the game by 17. I believe they're maybe 8-point underdogs heading into Monday as of right now, but that means nothing to the guys. That's just kind of one way that we analyze, how people feel about them. I think this game's going to be tight. I think it's going to be chippy. I think the Argonauts and Ryan Dinwiddie are going to do everything they can to get under the skin of the Tiger Cats. And the Ticats are going to have to be disciplined. And that's the one thing I think that's hurt them a lot this year is their lack of discipline at times. This is a big test for that. This is an Argos team that's first place. They have a quarterback who's got a lot of swagger, who's now the highest paid player in the Canadian Football League.
Yep.
He's going to want to come in and want to prove something.
Big contract.
So you're going to have to play hard, but you're going to have to play within the rules. And that's the big part that sometimes the Ticats have had trouble with this season, and they cannot afford a single penalty. The Argos are too good for them to be giving up free yards. They're going to have to make them fight for everything, so they're going to have to play between the whistles, but they're going to have to play physical. They're going to have to play tough, and they're going to have to use the energy of the crowd to make big plays, offense, defense, special teams, because that's what worked for the Ticats last week. It was lliterally all three phases of the game. They were the better team. And they're going to have to do it again against a very good Argos team. That's 8-1. They're the defending Grey Cup champions. They're 8-1. They're well coached. They're a lot of returnees from last season. They're very businesslike. Ticats can't let the moment get too big for them, but there's a lot of guys. Not that I think that's a fear, because I watched the video of Dylan Wynn, pumping up the fans on Twitter or X this week. Again, great job from the creative team there. And
they're wild. They do so well. The creative team. We don't give them enough shout outs, but they're incredible.
Never. Shout out creative, Ticats TV. These guys know what it means. There's a lot of history in this room. It's not, it's not a history lesson this week by any means, but it's brought up. It's mentioned, how significant this game is, in terms of the standings, but also just it being Labor Day. Alumni are going to come through, like Eric Harris. Shout out. I'm really excited to see Eric Harris.
Huge.
I've covered him the last few years. Really excited to see him down there at Tim Hortons Field on Monday. But, yeah, it's a big one, man. It's a big one. I'm excited for you to get to experience a Labor Day Classic because you've been to some games, but you've never been to a game like this. So it should be a lot of fun on Monday.
First Labor Day Classic, and everyone's just been pumping me up so much, whether it be you or Matthew Shinetti or anyone I've talked to about being here at Tim Hortons Field and being around the stadium and seeing the people come together, the Ticats fans and the Argos fans, just the buzz in the air. I know we beat it to death about how much this game means, but it really is a huge staple point in the city. Now, Lou, I think the Ticats game plan last week was excellent on offense. I want to get a little bit into what they should be doing here against the Argos. James Butler, I mean, the guy's been unstoppable this season, especially the last few games. Just is that kind of the guy you want to see this offense run through? Him and, of course, Taylor Powell, but it starts with JB.
Feed JB, man. That is exactly it. There's a couple of JBs Obviously, James Butler being one of them, but Coach Baines too. I mean, he's somebody I'm going to be watching this week in terms of how this offense works. He's somebody who's been there. He's kind of that middleman with Scott Milanovic, and I'd love to see how he's got experience as a running backs coach. I believe he's working with the receivers this year. You're gonna have to double check me on that one too. But
I think you're right.
And I'd love to see a guy like Tim White have a real breakout game. I think him and Taylor Powell I don't want to say they don't mesh well, because that's not the right way of putting it, but maybe Taylor Powell's, I don't want to say weakness right now, but he really can't air out that ball the way that Tim White loves to run and go get it. Yeah, right? And I think I don't know if it's probably not frustrating to Tim, but I would love to see him get involved. This is a guy who's a 1,000-yard CFL receiver. He's an all-star, and he's just been one of those names that you haven't really seen week in and week out. So I'd love to see them find a way to get him involved in the offense. But yeah, I mean, you just got to feed JB. He was motivated last week. He can say whatever he wants about going into Vancouver and the game just being another game, but
he was fired up.
Absolutely, and I think he's going to be fired up in this one too. And it's been a long time since the Ticats have had a consistent threat to go 100 yards every single game, and that's no disrespect to the guys who have been here in recent years, including Sean Thomas Irvington, who is very capable of breaking off a 100-yard game. But to kind of have an idea that you have a guy who can go in and get 100 yards a game, like, feed JB, give him the rock, and then let's see Taylor Powell build those chemistry. This was an interesting week, obviously, coming off the win. It's a short week heading into Friday, right? You got to play.
Weird turnaround.
Yeah, you get one practice. So I think I would really like to see Taylor Powell continue to build that chemistry with his receivers. He's a young guy. He didn't get a lot of first-team reps. He got no first-team reps until they absolutely needed him to take them. So that's such a huge part
of
it.
Threw a bomb, his first throw.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd love to see Powell continue to build that chemistry with his receivers. But it's going to come down to how JB can stay on his feet and turn 4-yard carries into 6, 8, 10-yard carries.
Offensive coordinator Louie B would be throwing a Hail Mary first play of the game against the Argos. That's the play call he wants to see.
Flea flicker.
You're going to be a nice flea flicker just to get the game kicked off, fire up the fans a bit. Louie, you're going to be here at the stadium on Labor Day. What do you have to say to fans coming out to the game and just people watching at home about this one before we go?
Well, if you're watching it at home, I don't know what you're doing. You should be there. If you are in Hamilton and you can find a way to get
limited
to the game,
tickets.
I know, but just grab them up while you can. It's going to be, sun's going to be shining. I'm not going to be there in an official capacity, which is, like I said, going to be a lot of fun for me, who doesn't get to go to games non-working or isn't working. So should be a lot of fun down there at Tim Hortons Field. I'll probably stop by the press box, say hi to you troublemakers up there. Maybe grab some popcorn, some water, just to stay hydrated. But now, looking forward to a beautiful day, really saying goodbye to the summer in the best way possible, and hopefully that's what the Ticats win.
Big thanks to Louie B, Chris Edwards, Simoni Lawrence, and Coach O for being on the show today. The Labor Day Classic is going to be the biggest party in Hamilton this weekend, and if you don't have your tickets yet, you need to get them now. They're selling out quick. They're going to be gone very, very soon. If you want tickets, go to ticats.ca/tickets and get your tickets. Join the party. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be tons of fun, and it's just going to be that classic Argos-Ticats rivalry we're used to seeing over the years. That's all the time for me today. I want to thank you for listening to Ticats Today.